2023 has been an interesting year for movies so far. The highs are very high, the lows seem to be shockingly bad, and the future of the end of the year releases seems to be a bit uncertain. But I'm choosing to stay optimistic, and today, as the end of summer is quickly approaching and we are about to start getting into some very exciting fall and winter releases, I wanted to take a look at the best movies 2023 had to offer up to this point and give you my list of what I would consider to be this year's must-watch movies so far. So get comfortable and grab your beverage of choice for this video, which for me, as you have probably guessed, is going to be coffee. And if for some unfortunate reason you are lacking delicious coffee in your life, don't worry, because the wonderful sponsor of today's video, Trade Coffee, will match you with the perfect blend based on what you enjoy. With Trade, you can be confident that you're getting your coffee freshly roasted while it's still full of flavor, and you will never need to settle for the stale, dull, or burned grocery store coffee ever again. Trade will deliver your coffee right to your door on a flexible subscription schedule, and because it's always shipped within 48 hours of being roasted and curated specifically for you, the cup of coffee you're having at home every day will actually be your best cup of coffee. With tons of options to choose from, Trade has the perfect match for everyone, and on top of that, all of their coffee is ethically sourced and comes from independent roasters around the country, so you're also helping support small businesses. My latest favorite is this hellacious espresso from Sightseer. Great title, by the way. It's so smooth and yet so flavorful. It's excellent. And of course, Trade Coffee and I have a special offer for you. Right now, if you use my link, drinktrade.com/impression, you will get a free bag of coffee with any subscription. It's that simple. Follow my link, choose whatever subscription works for you, and get some delicious coffee on the house that could potentially be your coffee soulmate. So check out drinktrade.com/impression, and thank you so much to Trade Coffee for sponsoring this video. But let's get into this top 10, and I'm going to start with underrated gems. There are two that I want to highlight, the first of which is a documentary. Still, a Michael J. Fox movie came out back in May, and it's just as emotional, heartbreaking, and inspiring as you can imagine. The star of the Back to the Future trilogy got diagnosed with Parkinson's at just 29 years old, and in this documentary, he tells his story as well as lets the viewers in on his everyday life. He gets personal, he gets real, and from beginning to end, what stands out is the power of his spirit. There's so much humor, so much positivity, and the energy and determination with which he lives his life are, as I mentioned, incredibly inspiring. And as if that wasn't enough, the way the story is presented is done through very clever use of archival and film footage blended with some reenactment, and it is perfect. The style is so cool, it never gets old, and as I was watching, I kept looking forward to seeing what else they were going to incorporate and how. I loved it, and even though it felt a little brief, it's still an impactful, beautiful, and creative documentary. The second underrated film I want to talk about is Blackberry, and this movie is so much better and so much more entertaining than I ever expected it to be. Did I think I needed a based on a true story movie about the rise and fall of BlackBerry? Absolutely not. Except apparently I actually did, because it was so good and I completely understand where the comparisons to The Social Network are coming from. Blackberry might actually be the best under the radar movie of 2023 at the moment, and I know that to a lot of you, this premise does not sound interesting or exciting, but I promise you, once you start it, it's an impossible movie to look away from. Everything works here: the excellent cast, the pacing and energy, the recreation of that time period between late 90s and mid 2000s, the humor, the tone, the business and corporate drama of it all. It is just such a well-told, engrossing story that it makes me sad how many people not only haven't seen it, but don't even have this movie on their radar. watch it. You will have a good time. From underrated gems to horror movies, because of course, this wouldn't be a proper top 10 for me without horror. And I actually have 3 of them on this list. I've been pretty happy with the genre this year. First of all, the disgustingly entertaining Evil Dead Rise. It may not be a masterpiece, but I had such a great time getting grossed out by this movie, I just had to include it. Evil Dead Rise is technically the 5th entry in the Evil Dead franchise, but it completely stands on its own and it can be enjoyed without the other 4 movies. That being said, there are also plenty of Easter eggs and details for fans of the franchise to keep an eye out for. Set in an old apartment building, the film focuses on a family where the mother gets possessed and starts coming after her 3 kids and her sister. It's gory, it's gross, it's brutal, and it's also really entertaining in a sick and twisted way. I sound insane. Only horror fans will understand. There is plenty of dark humor and plenty of nightmare fuel. The lead performance is impressively physical, and at 96 minutes, the movie is paced to be a thrill ride. Check out my review for more details. I have reviews for most of these movies, and I of course will link those in the info box below. Next up is the Australian horror gem Talk to Me, which is still playing in some theaters if you haven't seen it yet. Talk to Me offers a refreshing take on possession, which kind of seemed impossible at this point, but they managed to pull it off. The movie revolves around a group of teenagers who communicate with the dead through an embalmed hand, and it's all fun and games until things inevitably go wrong. The horror elements are incredibly effective, and it's certainly the type of horror film that sticks with you not only because of the imagery itself, but also because of the emotional elements, since yes, this is another entry into the horror movies about processing grief subgenre. The teenagers here act like realistic teenagers, and that does mean some bad choices are made to keep the story going, but everything feels very fitting with the setup. Talk to Me really shows off what can be achieved on a small budget with great makeup and practical effects, great chemistry between the talented young cast, and a memorable, haunting ending. What else do you need from a horror film? Finally, the last horror movie I want to talk about is Beau is Afraid. Ari Aster's anxiety-inducing, mommy issues exploring 3-hour-long epic. Now, I know this one was divisive, even among horror fans, and it's definitely a very strange film that dabbles in surrealism and absurdism. For a movie about a man on his way to visit his mother as the chaos of everyday life unfolds around him, it sure finds a lot of ways to make the viewers uncomfortable. It's also a pitch black comedy that's trying to juggle anxiety, complicated relationships, and an unraveling protagonist. It's a lot to take in, and you do feel that 3-hour runtime, but even though it occasionally got too weird, even for me, I still found most of Beau is Afraid fascinating. Plus, let's not forget about Joaquin Phoenix delivering one of the best performances of his career. He is incredible, and the entire time you just want better things for Beau in this movie. Poor guy. So yes, Ari Aster's new film does make my top 10 of the year. For now, it's bold, it's completely unhinged, and while it's not what you normally imagine when you think of a horror film, it's a truly unique and unforgettable nightmare. Now here's an unusual section in my top 10. Sequels. Longtime viewers already know I am not usually a sequel or a franchise person, and to have 3 of those in my top 10 is kind of unheard of. But what can I say? The franchises I enjoy have been delivering this year, so here we are. I'm actually about to surprise you even more by saying that one of them is an MCU movie. Yes, it's still me. I am not a clone. I have not been kidnapped. I'm just a big fan of Guardians of the Galaxy. While I wouldn't go as far as to say Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is better than the original, which I genuinely adore, this is by far the best MCU film I've seen in a long time. It's a lot emotionally, and I completely understand why some people found it too difficult to watch or even emotionally manipulative, but it worked for me. I love this band of misfits and their weird, goofy humor. I love how strong the found family aspect is here. I love sci-fi adventures, and the soundtrack is great. Rocket Raccoon's backstory is sad. I get it. CGI animals made me cry at least 3 times, and that experience can be too much for some, but I think they told the story very well, and the film is full of empathy, which is something I always respond to. I wrote this in my Letterboxd reaction. The movie reminded me why I used to be genuinely excited about the MCU, and this was a beautiful send-off for the Guardians as we know them, as well as a great way for me to say goodbye to the franchise, ending on a high note and a very emotional one. Next up, of course, is the one, the only, the deadly Mr. Wick. John Wick Chapter 4 was an early favorite of the year for me, and it has stuck around in my top 5 for a reason. There's simply no match for the John Wick movies in terms of insane stylized action they're able to get away with over and over again, and Chapter 4 is absolutely the highlight of the franchise. It's fun, it's loud, it's nonstop, it's beautifully lit, and the action is truly unlike anything you've seen before. It's a thrill ride with memorable characters, a star-studded cast, and a great sense of humor. I enjoyed it so much that I watched it twice in theaters, and I would easily see it again. This is the type of movie for which I will gladly suspend my disbelief, because laws of physics and durability of human bodies definitely don't apply in some scenes here, but it really doesn't matter all that much because of how phenomenal, how beautifully shot, and how entertaining the action is. This is what I mean when I say other movies wouldn't be able to get away with this. John Wick Chapter 4 pushes past the limits yet again and delivers nothing short of a spectacle. My final sequel pick actually brings me to my current top 3 of the year, and that is, as you might have guessed, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. Considering its underperformance at the box office, I was almost tempted to put it in the underrated category, but calling Ethan Hunt underrated feels ridiculous, so he's just going to take his rightful place in my top 3. If you did not see Dead Reckoning Part 1 on the big screen, I'm sorry, you really missed out, but I think it's still playing in a few theaters, so you might still be able to catch it. For me, this was one of the best entries in the entire franchise, and I will do a full Mission Impossible ranking once Part 2 comes out. The stakes are high, the stunts are great, Tom Cruise is at the top of his game, the rest of the cast is excellent, and I loved how well the movie combined the emotional aspects with the spy action goodness. I also loved how the AI element was incorporated, which seems to be a hit or miss thing for people, but I thought it was done really well, and I'm very interested in how that storyline is going to develop in Part 2. Out of the many long movies I've seen this year, Dead Reckoning Part 1 is where I felt the runtime the least. The movie simply flew by, and they actually figured out how to wrap it up in a satisfying way, even though it's only half the story. And did I mention it's a great time? Because I had a blast. This is a big favorite for me, and I fully expect it to remain in my top 10 at the end of the year. My current runner-up to the top spot is the quietly devastating Past Lives. This movie is incredibly special, and if you missed it during its theatrical run, make sure to catch it on VOD soon, because films like this one just don't come along all that often. It's an understated drama that will make you contemplate your entire life as well as the lives you could have had. It'll make you think about people you lost contact with and what it would have been like if you stayed in touch. It will also make you think about the people who are closest to you and how they shape you and your life. For the main character, Nora, the past is in a different country across the world, and when someone she knew as a kid comes back into her life years later, she is faced with a part of herself that she left behind a long time ago. Excellent performances all around, adults actually acting like adults, a beautiful romantic story that never descends into cliches of the genre, cinematography and score that fill the movie with melancholy and nostalgia, as well as quiet happiness, and outstanding writing and direction from Celine Song, who really makes you wonder how this could possibly be her feature film debut. Past Lives is a must-watch and the movie I recommend to pretty much everyone, particularly because part of its brilliance is that each person will connect with it in their own way. It's a movie that generates endless discussions because of how deeply it resonates and because of how personal and grounded it feels. It's easily one of the best movies of the year. It's beautiful and nuanced, and despite being a small-scale story set between 3 people, it's a powerful experience that stays with you for a very long time. And speaking of powerful experiences, shall we talk about the best movie of the year? The one that quite literally blows you away. Of course, my favorite movie of 2023 is Oppenheimer, and honestly, I don't know if that's going to change. I actually find it difficult to talk about Oppenheimer because it's one of those movies where I love everything, and when I try to explain why, I just kind of descend into chaotic gushing, but let me try to give you my quick take. Oppenheimer exceeded every expectation I had for this film, and that's considering I'm already a huge fan of Christopher Nolan. I truly think this is his masterpiece, and I would have never guessed a 3-hour-long biographical drama would be the film he shines in. Many of his trademarks are here: the nonlinear storytelling, the conflicted protagonist, moral ambiguity. He even manages to pull off some excellent reveals despite this being a biopic. And yet the most surprising thing about it is how successful he is at creating an intimate, complicated portrait of J. Robert Oppenheimer in a very dialogue-heavy film, which never felt like Nolan's forte to me. But here we are, watching a character-driven, introspective epic written and directed by Christopher Nolan. Of course, the entire cast is fantastic, with Cillian Murphy and Robert Downey Jr. absolutely killing it. Shut down the awards race now. What's the point? Just give them all the awards. The score is out of this world. I'm kind of obsessed with it, have been listening to it a lot. Hoyte van Hoytema's cinematography is outstanding. The movie looks and sounds absolutely stunning, and experiencing it on the big screen, just letting it take over my life for 3 hours and being completely immersed in this journey twice now, and I really want to see it again, was one of my favorite theatrical experiences ever, especially considering how strikingly haunting the ending is. I love it. I'm sure you can tell how much, and I haven't been able to stop thinking about it. This might actually be one of my all-time favorites. It's kind of a big deal. But that is the list, which wasn't really ranked outside of my top 3, so if you want my current top 10 ranking, it looks something like this. Things are definitely going to move around before the year ends, but this is where I am at the moment. Let me know what your favorite movies of the year are at this point in time, and let me know what movies are you looking forward to the most for the rest of the year. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I will see you very soon in my next video.